Mr. Billedeau, you have the floor.
Great. And to begin, thank you for the opportunity to attend today's discussion on behalf of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Canada's oil and gas sector plays an important role in ensuring the country's economic prosperity, energy security, and sustainable development. In terms of economic impact, in 2020, our collective oil and gas sector provided $105 billion to Canada's GDP and maintained nearly 400,000 jobs across Canada. The production sector alone is expected to contribute $50 billion in taxes and royalties in 2022. This annual revenue to governments is vital for the development and maintenance of Canada's infrastructure, such as roads, schools, and hospitals. At the same time, Canada's oil and gas sector accounts for approximately 27% of the country's total greenhouse gas emissions. Therefore, it is vital to have a strategy to decarbonize while maintaining the economic benefits of continued production. With that said, the sector is broadly committed to sustainable development and reaching Canada's 2050 net zero target. Canada's oil and gas sector has continuously reduced emissions intensity over the past years without far-reaching regulatory requirements to do so. Moreover, oil sands firms have committed to pursuing projects valued at nearly $25 billion to reduce emissions and improve energy efficiency of operations by 2030. In effect, Canada's oil and gas sector is poised to demonstrate global research, development, and deployment leadership for the most advanced decarbonization technologies. And as the industry continues to evolve, so too does its workforce. Per Stats Can, as of 2019, 36% of the sector's workforce was female, 26% belonged to a visible minority group, nearly 10% identified as being Indigenous, and the sector is a primary employer of new Canadians. In sum, the sector is providing strong middle-class employment opportunities for all Canadians and has a positive economic and employment impact in almost every region of our country. Canada's oil and gas sector is also positioned to support global decarbonization efforts and energy needs. Ongoing conflict in Europe has reinforced the need for Canadian leadership to support international energy security, and at the same time, Canadian energy products hold significant opportunity to displace carbon-intensive alternatives within international markets. Since 2021, the Canadian Chamber has been working with members of its Net Zero Council, a multi-sector collective of business leaders committed to net zero, in order to ensure Canada's pathway to net zero is competitive, enhances investment, creates jobs, and promotes innovation. To that end, I appreciate the opportunity to table 3 salient recommendations from the Net Zero Council's recent report on how Canada can reach its emissions reductions targets. First, Canada should develop a detailed green skills plan to unlock opportunities that net zero will bring. Delivering a net zero while capitalizing on economic opportunities will require a workforce strategy that includes a comprehensive set of employment and skills projections to identify gaps across domestic industries, including oil and gas, as well as geographies. Second, Canada should increase overall net zero funding and do more to de-risk and address barriers to private sector investment. The Chamber encourages the Government of Canada to directly fund innovative climate tech programs, secure co-investment through public-private partnerships, deliver support for R&D projects, and de-risk private sector investments in clean technologies. The need to better compete for investment capital is heightened due to the recent U.S. Inflation Reduction Act. And lastly, Canada should consider a holistic picture of emissions and predicate sector environmental policies on global emission reduction opportunities. And to that end, the federal government should promote and strengthen Canada's energy sector to reduce global supply chain related emissions of products, materials, and businesses. Yet Canada stands alone as one of the world's primary oil and gas producers that is hindering the success of its domestic energy industry through decarbonization strategies that create added costs, regulations, and pathways that do not consider financial or technical viability. Such actions reduce our ability to compete globally and results in a loss of market share to OPEC and other non-democratic, non-free market nations. In close, the Canadian Chamber encourages the committee to recognize that the oil and gas sector is committed to combating climate change and reaching emissions reductions targets. Moreover, there is boundless potential here for Canada to drive global transitions to net zero. However, partnerships between the private sector and government are ultimately required to advance these ends. Thanks again for your time and consideration, and I look forward to the discussion.